Did you marry that older man again? What are you talking about? Have you changed your mind? Wouldn't it have been better if you stayed with me? My ex-husband, Bryan, had a smirk on his face as soon as he saw me after so long. His words made the air tense. I was just as surprised as everyone else. How did we end up here? He didn't seem to realize how inappropriate his words were. He had always been careless with what he said, never thinking about the impact. But this time, I knew it wouldn't go unnoticed. His face slowly turned pale. My name is Julie, and I'm 28 years old. My life has been full of ups and downs. I married the man I loved, but even after just 1 year, I already felt the weight of an unhappy marriage. Bryan, my husband, is 30. We first met at work as business partners. At first, we only talked about business, but one day, we realized we liked the same band. That brought us closer. He was passionate about work and always quick to make up after small arguments, which made me believe our life together would be peaceful. After dating for 1.5 years, we got married. But the moment we exchanged rings, he changed completely. Before, he always told me he loved me and made me feel safe. But after the wedding, I started seeing another side of him, controlling and demanding. I truly noticed this change just a few days after marriage. One evening, I came home late from work. Bryan was already there, sitting on the couch with his phone. Normally, he would greet me warmly, but that day, he ignored me. Bryan, I'm home. Sorry I'm late. I'll start making dinner now. He didn't respond. Thinking he hadn't heard me, I spoke louder. Bryan. He finally looked up and snapped, why are you so late? It doesn't make sense. Are you wasting time? I was stunned. Bryan, why are you talking like this? You're my wife. Why are you getting home later than me? Explain. I had extra work today. I had to stay late. Again? Maybe you're just not good at your job. Stop making excuses. I was speechless. We had disagreements before, but we always worked through them. He had never spoken to me like this. That night, even after I made dinner, he kept complaining. This food is too bland. If this is all you can cook, are you even fit to be a wife? After that, his criticism became more frequent. At first, I defended myself, but the more I spoke up, the angrier he got. What? Are you talking back to me? I work too, and I also take care of the house. Can't you appreciate that or help out? You're the wife. Housework is your job. I come home tired, understand that. Aren't we supposed to be partners, supporting each other? Are you joking? You should be grateful you married me. Why would you say that? Your job is to follow my rules. Just do that. The kind and loving Bryan I once knew was gone. Maybe that side of him was never real. Maybe this was who he really was. We hadn't been married long, so the thought of divorce made me feel sad. I tried to endure it in silence. A year passed, but nothing changed between Bryan and me. Every day, I did housework and followed his orders. The only thing that kept me going was my job, especially my time with my colleague, Sarah. Sarah was the daughter of a high-ranking company executive, but she never acted privileged. She worked hard, and that made me admire her. During lunch breaks, we often sat together while I ate my packed meal. She always had something cheerful to say. Julie. I finally set up a date with that guy we talked about, she said with a big smile. Really? That's great. You look so happy, I'm happy for you. It's all thanks to you, Julie. You always listen to my worries. I really appreciate it. All I did was listen, Sarah. Seeing you happy makes me happy too. But if you hadn't encouraged me, I wouldn't have had the courage to contact him. She was glowing with excitement, and it made me feel warm inside. I love seeing you like this, Sarah, I told her. But suddenly, her smile faded a little. Julie. I'm really worried about you. Things with your husband, they're still hard, aren't they? Oh? I thought you were talking about something else. Julie, is he still saying cruel things to you? Sarah looked at me with deep concern. She knew about my struggles with Bryan because I had confided in her. I was grateful for her care, but at the same time, I felt bad for making her worry. I forced a small smile. Thanks, Sarah, but I think I've gotten used to it. Julie, that's not okay. You shouldn't have to get used to something like that. Her words stuck with me. 1 month later, on Sarah's birthday, we planned to have lunch together. That morning, I woke up early to finish housework before getting ready. As I was doing my makeup, Bryan called out to me. Where do you think you're going? It's Sarah's birthday. I told you, I'm going out for lunch with her. What? You have responsibilities at home. You can't just leave whenever you want. It's not like that. I do everything around here, I deserve a break sometimes. Who do you think you are? Your job is to do what I say. That was it. I had reached my limit. I've had enough. We should get a divorce. Bryan looked stunned. What are you saying? I should have made this decision a long time ago. I don't love you anymore. I need to get away from you. You want a divorce? Fine. But don't expect to get anything from me. I'm fine with that. Let's get divorced. Don't be so full of yourself. You'll regret this, just wait and see. Bryan stormed out in anger, but he came back soon after with divorce papers in hand. He signed them in front of me and threw them at me. I stayed calm, signed them, and finally ended this toxic marriage. After the divorce, I found a new place to live, a small rental apartment close to my job. I only told Sarah and my boss, Mr. Bompson, about my situation. I needed time to rebuild my life. Over the years, my life changed in many ways, but Bryan wouldn't leave me alone. He kept sending me disturbing messages, almost like he was stalking me. It made me anxious every day. The two people who helped me the most during this time were Sarah and my boss, Keith Thompson. Keith had been my mentor since I joined the company, and he felt like an older brother to me. He soon noticed something was wrong. "Julie, are you okay? You don't seem like yourself lately." "I'm sorry, Mr. Bompson. I've been really tired and making more mistakes at work." "I don't think it's just that. I thought you'd feel better after the divorce, but you seem even more troubled. Is something going on?" "Yes. My ex-husband keeps messaging me. It's really wearing me down." "You shouldn't let him get to you. Just block him." That night, Keith took me out for drinks. At first, we laughed and had fun, but after a few drinks, I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I broke down in tears in front of him. From that moment on, we started spending more time together, talking, having dinner, and growing closer. Before we knew it, we had fallen in love. Just last month, Keith proposed to me. Now, I wear a beautiful engagement ring on my finger. He recently got a promotion, which moved him to a different department, but since we live together, work doesn't create any distance between us. Sarah also had exciting news. She was getting married. The man she had always talked about, the one she dreamed of a future with, was now her fiancé. He worked for a company connected to ours. But to my surprise, he worked on the same floor as my ex-husband. The thought made me uneasy, but I reminded myself that today was Sarah's special day. I wouldn't let that bother me. On the way to the wedding venue, I ran into Sarah's father, Mr. Johnson, who was also the CEO of our company. "Mr. Johnson. Hello. It's been a while. How have you been?" "Heron. You surprised me. Sarah talks about you a lot. Thanks for coming today." "Thank you for the invitation. Is your wife already at the venue?" "Yes, she got there early to help with preparations. I was just heading over myself. Would you mind if I walked with you?" We chatted as we made our way inside. Near the entrance, while I was checking on the reception setup, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Well, I didn't expect to see you here, Julie." I turned around, stunned. "Wait. Bryan? What are you doing here? Why so surprised?" "The groom is my colleague, so of course, I was invited." "It's been a while. You seem different." I never imagined Sarah's fiancé and my ex-husband worked in the same office, let alone that Bryan would be invited to her wedding. He looked me up and down before smirking. "I'm shocked. So, you're marrying an older guy, huh? That ring, new, isn't it? Why do you care? Stay out of my life. I mean, you used to enjoy being with me. And now you've moved on to an older man? You have no right to comment on my choices. You sure like showing off that ring. Are you that proud of it?" His rude, mocking words pushed me to the edge. I was about to pull him aside and give him a piece of my mind when, suddenly, one of the reception staff ran over, shouting at Bryan. "What do you mean? Don't you know who this man is? Isn't he Julie's husband? Watch what you're saying. This is the bride's father, our CEO, Mr. Johnson." "What? Really?" Bryan had no idea he had just insulted such an important person. His face turned pale with shock. Mr. Johnson, trying to ease the tension, smiled politely. "So, you're Allison's ex-husband. It's nice to meet you." Bryan stammered, "I am so sorry." Mr. Johnson, keeping his cool, replied, "Our companies have had a long business relationship. By the way, I'm the CEO here." Bryan kept apologizing in a panic. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." With a calm smile, Mr. Johnson added, "It's fine. We were actually reconsidering our business dealings with your company." Bryan's panic grew as he begged, "Please, reconsider. This could be a huge problem." Bryan clearly understood the seriousness of the situation. A disruption in business would hurt his career, and he begged the CEO to change his mind. But from what I knew about Mr. Johnson, I knew he wouldn't easily back down once a decision was made. Mr. Johnson, still calm, said, "I'm disappointed in you. Not only did you disrespect me, but you also treated Julie poorly. I don't see any reason to continue working with a company that has someone like you. The rest of the night was filled with tension, and Bryan, clearly embarrassed, eventually left the wedding. The next morning, Mr. Johnson made a call to Bryan's company and ended their long business relationship. As for me, I recently completed my marriage registration with Keith, someone I trust deeply. Many of my colleagues congratulated us and sent their blessings, which made me feel at peace as I left the company. From here on, I plan to stay home as a full-time wife and support Keith. My divorce taught me that just being married doesn't guarantee happiness. What truly matters is the partner you choose. Keith and I want to show that, and we look forward to building a happy life together.